Hello and welcome back to the most amazing channel on the internet. I'm your host Rebecca Felgate, and today we're talking about the top 10 Egyptian urban legends. Ancient Egypt gets a lot of airtime, but what about legends of the more modern day that are more prevalent today? While the rich history of Egypt definitely still impacts the modern day and can't be avoided in this list, there are also so many news stories that have never really been heard of in the West. Let's do this. Before we get into this list, I want to ask you guys to let me know what the coolest country you've ever visited is. I've actually been to Egypt myself and that was pretty cool. Also, if you guys want to connect with me on social media to see my weird travels and adventures, then do click the link in the description box. Also be sure to like this video and share it with an Egypt-loving friend. Coming into number 10, we have the man with a burnt leg. The man with a burnt leg is basically the Egyptian boogeyman. He's a horror character created to scare naughty children and is often mentioned by parents to kids when they're acting up. The legend says that he takes children away to eat them and cook them, which is pretty stressful, although why the burned leg? Well, apparently his burns come from him misbehaving as a child himself. He was disobedient to his parents. This is basically all I got from the translation, but maybe he was captured by a previous boogeyman, but escaped only to continue the legacy. Coming into number 9, we have the ghost of the White Desert. The Farafra Desert is regularly called the White Desert because of its large chalky rocks amid the sand. The desert is located between Dakhla and Bar Area, and there's a popular spot for tourism. Those who have visited the desert often have more to report on than its beauty though. It is said that the ghost of a disgraced pharaoh lives there. That's right, Pharaoh Akhenaten wanders the desert as a lost soul. Sightings of the 1300 BC king have been reported by many people. It seems that Akhenaten tried to abolish beliefs in the many Egyptian gods, trying to encourage a wider scale focus on the god of sun. A lot of people were very unhappy with this, and it seems that on his death, statues and monuments were destroyed or hidden. Worse than that though, it seems that priests cursed him to walk an eternity of wandering the desert aimlessly. Coming into number 8, we have the Dahshur military training base. The Dahshur military training base is one of the largest military bases in the Middle East and is well known for being a grueling training ground for soldiers. While a lot of secrets are kept surrounding the facility, it is said that the ground is haunted by soldiers who have either died there or imprinted on the facility. Some soldiers have said that they've heard shouts or gunshots in the middle of the night. They've woken up prepared thinking it's some kind of military drill, only to find out that there's no one around. Some even say that they've seen the ghost of a dead army general doing push-ups. Coming into number 7, we have El Nadaha. El Nadaha is a beautiful woman who lures men to the River Nile to their deaths. She is some kind of genie or siren and is described as being light-skinned with long flowing light hair. She wears a long semi-transparent dress and calls to men in a soft but very audible voice. El Nadaha became popular as an urban legend in the 1950s when children would play by the banks of the river and young men would chat there later into the evenings. The genie has often been sighted by men in pairs, both claiming to have been placed in a trance but eventually managing to get away. Perhaps men on their own have been one of the many bodies washed up later on the banks of the river. Others say she doesn't simply drown men but devours them too. Local law in rural areas along the Nile say that once a man has spotted El Nadaha, he is doomed to die. Coming into number 6, we have the Djinn. The Djinn are elemental spirits that live in the Egyptian deserts. They can be anything from cheeky dust devils or the eyes of raging storms. They often appear as sandstorms, small tornadoes or snakes, and their primary aim seems to be bringing misery and chaos to humans. The desert Djinn can control the elements and mess with landmarks so that people get lost when wandering through the barren land. Coming into number 5, we have the City of the Dead. In Cairo, the truth is that 500,000 people are now living in a slum built on ancient cemetery, hence the name the City of the Dead. The El Afra graves date back to the 7th century, and a lot of the graves are small, elaborate buildings, which now some people have made their homes. These people are literally sleeping with ghosts. Aside from that, shanty houses have been put up amongst the graves and kids play on the tombstones as if nothing's happening. Despite the new choice of city locations seeming like a good idea for space saving, a lot of residents have reported ghostly apparitions passing by or the feeling of being watched while no one's around. Coming into number 4, we have Howard Carter's ghost. Famous Egyptologist Howard Carter, who discovered the tomb of King Tutankhamun, didn't die until 17 years after the notorious dig, but but his ghost is said to haunt the Valley of the Kings. Howard Carter was born in the UK and lived in Norfolk until he became involved in Egyptology, aged just 17. British born but with Egypt in the heart, perhaps it makes sense that his ghost would haunt the spot he made the most important archaeological finding of the century, let alone his career. Now this leads me nicely onto our next point. We are, of course, talking about the Curse of the Pharaohs at number 3. This is an enduring urban legend in Egypt. While in ancient Egypt, many superstitions were observed during burial processes and people believed in the god's wrath. In the early 1900s, in an age of enlightenment, a lot of people were not so fazed by legendary curses. Indeed, Western archaeologists and historians decided that they wanted to prise open the pyramids, which had been sealed for thousands of years. Big mistake. When King Tutankhamun's tomb was opened in 1922, the legendary Curse of the Pharaohs was a main topic of conversation, with worldwide renewed belief in the legend. The team that excavated the tomb was quickly dogged by a number of untimely deaths. On the day Howard entered the tomb, a cobra got into his pet canary's cage with a dead bird in its mouth. Now the cobra is the symbol of the Egyptian monarchy, and the symbolism wasn't lost on locals who began to panic. Lord Carnarvon, the financial backer of the excavation project, died shortly after the tomb was breached as a result of infected mosquito bite. The bite possibly matched a healed lesion found on King Tut's cheek during his autopsy. 2 of Carnarvon's half-brothers also died shortly after the excavation. Basically, the whole thing was dogged with a lot of death and destruction. Keeping it in the Valley of the Kings at number 2, we have the Fiery Chariot. A lot of people have reported seeing the ghost of an Egyptian pharaoh haunting the Valley of the Kings, and in some ways, I'm not surprised after all of the curse talk. Tourists and staff at the Valley of the Kings have reported seeing a flaming chariot manned by a figure wearing pharaoh-style clothing being pulled by black phantom horses. The most common sightings are at night, and many people hear horses or the sound of a thundering chariot. Finally, coming into number 1, we have Baron Empaine's Palace. Baron Empaine's palace is situated in Heliopolis, but is modelled in the Hindu temple style of India and Cambodia. The palace was built in the 19th century by a Belgian millionaire, Baron Empaine, who fell in love with a beautiful young Egyptian girl. Building a mansion on the outskirts of Cairo, the Baron and his wife had children. Unfortunately, from the very beginning, they were met with misfortune in that house. Their daughter was insular and suffered from terrible moods. She was found dead in the house's basement shortly after her mother's untimely death. The Baron suffered from epilepsy and died in 1929, and his playboy son frittered away the rest of his money. The Egyptian government eventually came into possession of the house in 2005. It was open to the public for 2 months but closed without any explanation. Weird. Rumours that the palace is haunted have been rife for decades, and now the property sits abandoned. Because of its abandonment, these rumours have only increased. Locals say that the palace is a hotspot for satanic ritual, and is host not only to ghosts but also illicit orgies. Crikey. Alright, how random is this? But I checked my Instagram halfway through scripting this video, and one of my friends had uploaded a picture of Howard Carter's grave. He's buried in Putney Vale Cemetery, and it was really random to have been talking about him on this list, a curse kind of thing with Egyptology, and then there he was. Weird. Spooky. So before I go, I just want to read some comments from one of my most recent videos, the top 10 scary dark web videos that should have stayed secret. Ladies and gentlemen, it seems Jesus was in the comments section. Jesus Christ wrote, "Welcome to the comment section. We have warm blankets, coffee, cocoa, and hot milk. You're safe here." It's good to know, Jesus, thank you. Where's that wine though? Carstorm said, "Great video, Rebecca. I love watching Most Amazing Top 10 videos and seeing you, Danny, and Landon work. Keep up the fantastic work." Thank you. Thank you all that commented, and do keep those comments coming. I can't wait to read them out in a future video. For now, don't forget to let me know what the coolest place you've ever travelled is, and to leave up a thumbs up on this video and share it with a friend. I'm your host, Rebecca Felgate, and I'll see you next time.